Hello and welcome to the show. The show being too old for this shite. This week's show we're talking about something that I suppose we think is a bit of a modern day cult classic, or has the potential to be a cult classic. A film that Laura discovered all of her own, called The Empty Man. So Laura, tell us about I suppose what we'd say, the podcast will be, we're going to be talking about the film, so there's going to be spoilers involved. But so what we'll do is we'll kind of give a mini review of the movie, and then if you like the sound of the movie and you haven't looked at it, you can turn off the podcast, go off and look at it, and then come back and join in the discussion about it.
Join in.
That sound fair? Good. Now, class, you have your homework. So yeah, so when we're finished with kind of like talking about a review of it, we'll get into the spoilers. So, what's The Empty Man about, Laura?
Okay, so
End scene.
I suppose it's kind of like a supernatural, cosmic horror, occult, slightly it's Lovecraftian adjacent kind of a horror, where I suppose it's part urban legend as well. If you like the Candyman or Bloody Mary or something like that, it seems to be people repeat this phrase, summoning this being called the Empty Man, I suppose, and then the Empty Man.
Well, no, don't they blow into
that's it.
a
Yeah,
bottle.
you blow into a bottle.
If you find a bottle on a bridge,
yeah.
and you blow into it.
That's it, yeah. And if you call to the Empty Man, supposedly the Empty Man will hear you, he will see you, and then he will come and find you. And it's your ridiculous kind of like teen legend, like kind of like someone Bloody Mary in the mirror, except this seems to have more kind of existential kind of roots or something like that. It's like about actually summoning a cosmic being of horror or something like that.
Well, yeah, you're getting into certain things now, kind of like, but the basic premise is that a teenage girl goes missing, and it looks like she might be involved in some cult. So the next door neighbour, who's an ex cop,
basically kind of gets involved a little bit.
So he's like investigating it. So it's a Lovecraftian thing, and like, I mean, say, because Laura's new best friend is ChatGPT, so Laura went off and asked ChatGPT for recommendations on a movie, kind of with all these elements that she likes in things, which it has nearly all those elements at one point. Like, one of the big things, you love like films set in the Arctic and the snow, or kind of
or desert kind of areas and stuff like that, isolation and wilderness. So so the film starts in that kind of a setting where it's four friends off hiking in, I don't know, the Himalayas or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And 5 miles from the closest next point of like habitation and stuff and snowy wilderness, and something spooky and supernatural happens to them, and obviously they're stuck out on their own and have to deal with it on their own.
It's a very good opening. Yeah, it's a very, very, very good opening, and as well, it does that thing that if you're into mystery stuff, you'll like it, because it opens up questions and stuff, and then it nearly seems to turn into a different movie about the missing girl.
It almost forgets about the opening 20 minutes of scene, and the opening 20 minutes is fairly... It's kind of shocking and can be a bit brutal and stuff like that, and then it's just like it moves to like modern day kind of like suburban area, and it almost seems like it's forgotten the opening sort of but it does circle back around eventually.
I think it's the difference. I can see how some people would be put off by it, because there is a bit of the story behind the Empty Man when it came out. It's actually done by, is it the director of photography that did a lot of David Fincher's movies?
I think he did some David Fincher documentaries and stuff. So you can kind of see the cinematography. It has like Fincher-esque kind of elements in it.
It's shot extremely well, but so this film was meant to be a lot bigger than it was, but it came out in just when the pandemic.
Yeah, just as the return... Well, it was coming out, sort of people were reluctant to go back to cinemas at the time. It didn't get a good push because I think Disney bought 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, it was kind of just...
So it was under 20th Century Fox, and then it got shelved, and then Disney bought it, and Disney were like, oh, we don't know how to
So they just kind of threw it out there.
Yeah.
So it kind of had a bit of a shitty start. There was no publicity behind it.
No market, no...
As well, at the time, you had a lot of these kind of movies that were coming out that were...
cheapy slasher.
Yeah, that looked like not Baghead, but it was this kind of thing, and even just the cover of it looked similar to about a million other like nearly straight to video films that came out at the time that were like, not very good. So I think that's why we gave it a miss. And we were looking at a review that Chris Duckman did of it, and it was the exact same thing. He was like, I fucking thought it was going to be like a different type of film. It just looked, and I think it was nearly marketed as little marketing it got as being a completely and utterly different type of film. This is a slow burn Lovecraftian mystery horror movie. That it's not a slasher movie.
It's set, or it's sort of is based on a graphic novel as well, which piqued your interest then as well.
Yeah,
I think the graphic novel kind of takes it off in a slightly different direction, and it's sort of a bit more loosely based on it, but it has that feel of like having a grander narrative or a deeper story behind it as well, which obviously it does, having sprung from the graphic novel. Obviously there's a world well developed there as well, so it feels like it kind of came to life fully formed.
Yeah, to get the kind of the review part of it out of the way, what did you think of it? Without giving any spoilers now.
I really
because I know you do this the whole time. You're like, and you go straight.
It was brilliant, and it's like, I just ruined the ending. Yeah. But I really like the actual. I like the slow burn nature of it. I like the cinematography, the shadowy settings. There's a lot of like even just sort of scenes that are kind of reminiscent of other kind of like childhood favourites, like the scenes on the bridge where like it was like exactly like something now to say Supernatural, the television series. They've dealt with that exact kind of location
Supernatural
before.
was good. The original kind of 5 seasons. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. The Lost Boys, the scene on the bridge, it just has that spooky, eerie, creepy feeling to it. I suppose the main characters themselves as well they're interesting and weird and prickly enough that you're very interested in getting to know them.
But suppose you don't know you genuinely don't fucking know what's going on the whole way through it. Like, I mean, when the ending does come around to it, I was genuinely surprised because there's like clues as to what it is the whole way through it. Normally we pick up on stuff like that and maybe like fucking a third of the way through go, oh fucking that's
what that is.
Didn't like when it happened I was like, oh fuck, I didn't see that coming at all. It was good and
was very, very surprising.
And you didn't feel like you were kicked in the teeth or anything like that. It didn't feel like it was
But it actually felt like it was like a very, very well crafted like RPG or something like that, where you have somebody who's just feeding you sort of like all these tiny little clues that you don't realise are significant at the time.
It does feel a bit like a computer game actually at points. Now, one criticism I will say, because like obviously we're talking about we really liked it, is it could probably be 20 minutes or maybe a half an hour shorter.
Yeah.
If it was that, I think it'd be a great movie. Yeah. There's a lot of overly slow burning scenes and a lot of overly sort of like thoughtful, sitting in deep dark thought kind of a thing, or walking through a shadowy, and it's like there are certain conversations you're like, this could be had fairly quickly. You don't need to be going into it this much. It takes a little bit too long to get to where it is. It's to the kind of film that it is. Like it meanders a little bit at the start of the whole thing. And
then the trouble is then, because like it's a super long film, it's like 2 hours or something like that.
2 hours and 20 minutes,
I think it was actually cut down from the original 3 hours or something like that, which would have killed it completely at the box office, even though it got killed anyway. But even with that really long running time, it feels like you're like a quarter of the way there, and then all of a sudden at the end it's like, oh my god, here's all of this stuff, and it's blah, just
it kind of changes into a different film as well in the last act of it. Whereas I think, like, as much as I really liked the intro to it, the intro was nearly similar to the introduction to Evil Dead Rise, I think. But the Evil Dead Rise, it just happens a lot quicker. I think it could have been done because it feels like that's the film. You kind of do get sucked into those characters, and then it's like, oh, and like, I mean, it is an important part that comes back at the end. But I do think you could have done it in 5 minutes as opposed to 20 minutes. Yeah. Because you do just get sucked into it, and then it's like the change in what the film turns into is too kind of jarring. Yeah,
too stark. Yeah. And you are left wondering for the first kind of like good few minutes, I suppose, when you transition into like the second act of the story, I suppose, you're kind of like, well, when are we going to get back to what bearing does the start have on this, and when are we going to what happened to them, and when are we going to get back to those characters? And like it isn't, sort of it becomes clear eventually, but you just kind of are kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, why? Well, I don't get that. It just seems
But
like
I mean, that's a minor comment. That's kind of like just making the film kind of slightly better. So kind of like really, I recommend people look at it if you like Lovecraftian stuff. And Lovecraftian term, I think, is thrown around too
easily. Yeah, exactly.
But this is very much like if you're a fan of True Detective season 1.
Yeah.
I think you'll really like this.
And as I said, if you're a fan of like Supernatural, the very early series, the first ones where it was like kind of Monster of the Week kind of a thing, that feel of like following clues and sort of finding things and shadowy figures and suddenly finding out who the big bad is or what the big bad is.
And as well, the guy who plays Elrond from the Lord of the Rings TV series, The Rings of Power, is in it. And I think it's the first time I've ever seen him in that. And like when we were looking at it, I was like, who's that guy? Where
he
you're
looks
just
very
like,
elfy.
And I was like, oh fucking hell, it's Elrond. But he plays like such a wildly different character.
Yeah.
That
Acting. Wow.
I know, but he doesn't look like he looks kind of like him, but he looks more like Jack Quaid. Who's in The Boys, who's Huey in The Boys and stuff. He's Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid's son, exactly. I was so shocked when I found
but it does look a bit like him, and you kind of go, oh. But yeah, look, so we're going to go into spoilers now.
Spoilers.
So look, if you do like the movie, go and watch it. It's really good. I do think, like we were saying, the whole purpose of this episode is that this is, it's a cult movie. But like in the proper sense of the term.
Yeah, no one really has
and it's on Disney Plus or Hulu, so it's like widely available, like
easily accessible. But there's just very few people have actually even bothered watching it. Like the people who do watch it kind of go, Jesus, that was kind of surprisingly good. So yeah.
But into spoiler territory with it. One of the things that I really liked about the movie as well was, even though I was just saying like the first bit could have been a little bit shorter, I think for it maybe to have wider appeal, I quite like the start of it. I don't really overly mind it being 20 minutes of an intro. But there is that kind of bit where it's like, that could have been a movie in itself.
Yeah. And when it does change, you're left wondering, well, why?
Yeah, and it just kind of, it slows down because it builds up to that point of like, alright, they're getting fucking killed. And there's some, you just know, even just the whole vibe, there's some entity that's doing this, or there's something going on, and then it just goes to like fucking your man calling in to check on his and she's like, the teenage daughter, and it's just like
that's
it's a bit too kind of. It should have
been more along the lines of, say, like Indiana Jones films do it really well, where they start off and it's kind of like they give the little bit of backstory where it's like Indy running through the cave, being chased by the boulder, and then it's like present day, and it's turned, it's sort of, there's a bit of a link, and it's exciting, and the transition to it makes logical sense. Yeah. Whereas this makes you're kind of left, you're literally jumping from one entire film, as you said, into another.
But even if it went from the kind of like, alright, your man fucking throws him, or your woman stabs herself in the face and throws herself off a cliff, then there's a cutscene and it's like the cops at the house or something going kind of like, we're looking for your daughter or whatever, or all the kids being found dead. Then with these things that it's like, bang bang, and you kind of go, we're not fucking movie makers anyway, so it always feels weird. You know what? We'd be a nightmare if we were like producers on the film.
Why don't you try it this way? I have this idea. And really not knowing how to do it.
And it's like, does Reed Richard really have to be stretchy?
He could be something else. But anyway, I suppose getting back to the film itself, it is like, I mean, it's interesting enough. Like, there's a lot of. I'd say there's probably a lot of little clues and calling cards and little Easter eggs and stuff throughout the whole thing that we missed as well. Because there was a few that I caught and I'm kind of like, geez, that's very smart.
There's stuff like names of streets and the name of the institute.
The name
and
of the
all
actual
that,
school itself as well is Jacques Derrida School. So instantly, because I unfortunately had the fucking, the pure joy of doing a bit of philosophy in college, I kind of went, oh my God, Derrida. And I knew where I was going, but I had to look it up to try and remember exactly. And it's all, deconstructivism and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, all right, it's a nod to that.
It's a smart movie. It's a good movie to watch if you like keeping your eye out for things. Kind of go, what the fuck does this mean? And when the cult does pop up in it, and it starts getting a bit mental, like that chase scene, there's a chase, which I've never played Alan Wake, but for some reason it just reminded me a lot of Alan Wake, the computer game.
I don't know what that is.
You wouldn't. But where he's like following the cult out into the woods, and like they see him, and it kind of goes funny for a bit because like they
he
just
literally
stop,
just goes, "Oh fuck,"
and they're just
Runs away.
looking at him, and like when he takes a step back, they all take a step forward in unison, and then he's being chased.
Yeah.
And it's like these people are that he would have seen as people, kind of like say maybe like Scientologists or whatever. All of a sudden, it's like, oh my god, what the fuck? They're not human. But there's a lot of, when the mad shit does happen in it, it's really, really, really cool.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, the big spoiler, like with the ending, would have been that he's a fucking tulpa.
But that's we'll go into that, I suppose, in a little bit more detail, because I know some people might be going, "What the fuck is a tulpa?" But I mean, going back to sort of all the hints all the way through. I mean, the name of the institute, the cult, the Pontifex Institute.
Even the film, the name, The Empty Man, because they play it up with that thing where it's like fucking red herring at the start, but it kind of hints towards the whole nature of, well, maybe reality is suggestive, and like this mightn't be like where it's like, oh, if you fucking blow into the bottle and you say the empty man 3 times, he'll come and take you. And it's like, there's nothing.
Yeah, that's not necessarily the intent at all.
That's the fucking. It's like it's the biggest red heart and just throws the whole. That's fucking not what the empty man is at all. But it does give away because she talks then when she's talking to him about like
having thoughts passed down from elsewhere, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and you think that maybe kind of like we're not real, and maybe and she's like and it's that whole thing where it's like it's from the fucking start. But your mind isn't on that.
So you miss. Well, I mean, that's, I suppose. Okay, right. Let's go straight into the tulpa thing. So a tulpa is, it's right. In case people are not fully aware of it, it's the thought that, I suppose, that if you meditate on something long enough or project something long enough, you can actually more or less project it, will it into being. So you can almost create a being with your mind. I suppose in today's world, some people might see that as like willing an imaginary friend into being so they can have a chat to it or whatever. But it would have been sort of like Tibetan Buddhist kind of spiritualism and all that kind of stuff. Again, go and watch one of the episodes of Supernatural. They deal with tulpas.
Yeah, there's tulpas in quite a few times actually in Supernatural.
Exactly. But it's basically sort of like you will a creature into existence.
I'm fairly sure last podcast on Left did an episode. Definitely Mysterious Universe would have covered tulpas a few times. So if you're interested in
I suppose like it's that sort of like middle-aged white woman kind of, drinking her wine, kind of like, oh well, if you manifest it hard enough, it'll come to be. Put your energy out there and it happens, but obviously on a much more spiritual level.
But that's the thing, you kind of think, even when it becomes a little bit later on in the film with the cult, and you think maybe the cult are after kind of manifesting the empty man into that this like cosmic being isn't real, and it's just because, and it's not that, it's the detective is the tulpa that they've manifested into. He's only been alive he's not even alive, they created him for a fucking day. So at the start of the movie, that's where he starts to exist, but in his head he's like
he's had obviously a whole life before that.
So it's a bit kind of Blade Runner-ish, where it's like with the whole thing about fucking kind of like, is Decker a replicant? But like, this is the thing is, no, this guy is but then again, he mightn't be. So the whole thing is they're saying, we created you because we wanted to, and we wanted to give you an empty vessel to carry, or to be a vessel so we could communicate with this being, so we could communicate with him. Because the guy at the start of the movie, that's what happens with him. He becomes the empty man, where it's like just this vessel. So this being, this cosmic being, can communicate through, so the cultists are like, it's very hard to get someone who is actually capable of carrying.
That's it, yeah. And I suppose like they fill him full of sort of memories of like grief and loss and regret and all this, because his memories.
His wife and kid dying while he's having an affair with your woman's mother. Yeah. It's horrible, like, it's really, and it's like none of it happened.
Yeah, it was just, I suppose, to just properly empty this. Like, I mean, I suppose the thought is like, I suppose grief and sorrow will sort of hollow you out on the inside, kind of a thing as well, and you'll be empty of everything else, and your life kind of loses meaning. And So it probably was the whole thing, like, we'll give him these memories, so he thinks he's like a real person, but he's like, fucking dead on the inside.
But they're a proper fucking good cosmic, or a fucking cult, and like, what's his name? It's a bit of a red herring with him as well, the cult leader. Stephen Root.
Yeah.
And he comes across being where you're kind of like, oh, what's going on? You think he's going to have a bigger part in it.
Yeah.
He's in it like once and that's it.
He just gives a speech in a whole, basically. Yeah. That's as well, I mean, like, the whole, as I said, there's all these smart little kind of nods, like, I mean, the Pontifex Society, or whatever the fuck it's called, like, I mean, Pontifex is sort of, it's used in kind of religious terms. Pont is a bridge, and it's a bridge maker. So, like, a pontiff, sort of the Pope, all the high rank, and an upper pope, an upper priest or something, or a high priest is always referred to as like a pontiff. So the Pontifex thing is like a bridge builder who basically is a bridge between the human world and the spirit world, and can communicate between that kind of, a higher entity and our normal true selves down here. So it's, even that is kind of like interesting, kind of little bit of thing there. But there's all these little breadcrumbs that if you look back at it, it sort of, you kind of go, oh fuck, how did I miss that? Like, because it's such a weird thing to throw in there. At the very start, if you remember, he's in a restaurant on his own, and he gives him this crumpled up voucher for like, oh, get a free cake on your birthday or something, And they all come out then singing happy birthday to him. And it's like, that's the day he was born, sure. That's the day he was willed into existence. It was his actual birthday. It was his first day in existence. So, because it's kind of, at first you kind of think, oh, look at the sad life he's leading, that he's just trying to use this voucher to get a cheap meal, and then people start bringing attention to him by doing the whole happy birthday song in the restaurant, bringing out a cake. But it's actually, it's looking back on it, it was his actual first birthday. Yeah. First day on earth.
But there's loads of bits through. I'm just after opening up IMDb there, and it's like, there was, in the trivia kind of section, there's a few different bits and pieces where it's like, I won't read them out because like other people can read them, but there is just what I thought was interesting there as well, is that like when he first goes into the Pontifex Institute, the camera lingers on a painting in the hallway. The painting shows the cabin in which the four hikers shelter at the start of the film. I didn't cop that at all, but like it's a smart movie, but it's not up its own whole smart.
No, it doesn't kind of like be all smarmy about it either, or be like, oh, look at this really smart thing. It's just, it's there. If you spot it, good. As I said, like, it's an extra little Easter egg for you, and you kind of go, oh, look, I'm smart. But if you don't, it makes no bones to the actual film. You'll still be able to follow the film the whole way through, and it won't lessen the sort of the experience for you. I suppose it's like, sort of the adult jokes in kids' films that go over the kids' heads, and if an adult gets it, they're like, smart, like,
But like, there's even like, the way that it gets started when the kid goes missing, and it's like all the kids that partook in the empty man ritual were blown into the bottle on the fucking bridge. They all go missing, and then they all show up hung under a bridge, dead, apart from the daughter of like the one that he had the affair with like years ago. And it's that's a massive red herring, because that's like the whole kind of thing where you're just like, you're like, who killed these kids? The cult killed them because they want to summon this demon into being, or they want to bring this thing, or maybe the empty man is this chaotic god that causes like destruction and stuff, because he starts seeing stuff as well. And other people are seeing, it's like other people are at risk.
The one other friend that doesn't end up getting hanged, he ends up speaking to her at the school. Yeah. She ends up like with the empty man sort of like in her own bathroom. And it's like, it starts off like, oh my god, she's getting like stabbed to death with the scissors or something like that. And then there's this one shot where it's herself stabbing herself with the scissors. And it's kind of like, is she gone mad? Is she doing it to herself? No. What's happening here, kind of a thing.
See, they never really get it, because like at first there is the kind of thing, it's like this creature, it's a god of like, pure chaotic energy, but feeds on violence. But then you kind of think maybe it doesn't, maybe it's when they're talking about him at the end with the signal, that it's maybe when people hear it, they don't know how to, and because like only certain people like can carry like the empty man thing, can hold it, so then they can kind of like transmit the message without people fucking going mad or killing each other. So I think it is people hear the sound, and then they're like they fucking kill themselves.
Yeah, just can't handle it, I suppose. Yeah. But that's, I mean, it's I suppose just to kind of finish out all this, the plot spoilers and all the rest, we kind of waffled on a little bit about how much the start seemed to have a total disconnect from the rest of the film. It comes right back around full circle. Obviously, he tracks down what is tracks down this hospital room. There's basically the empty man is in the hospital room. He's been moved from hospital to hospital over the years. No one knows who he is. He hasn't a name. Some mysterious benefactor is paying for his treatment, kind of a thing. And then when you go in, it's Paul, I think his name.
Or the guy from the start of the film that he fell into a tunnel.
Came face to face with the skeleton entity, kind of.
Yeah, thing. And it's that entity is really cool because it's kind of it's multi-armed.
It's
giant,
like oversized skeleton.
Yeah, sitting in a kind of like a yoga pose.
Yeah,
and it's it's really cool and then you're like, oh right, so it's this. Whatever was in that went into him, but you don't really know. It's just it's done really, and then nearly at the end of it as well, you are kind of left wondering, kind of, has this just been all bullshit? Maybe your man isn't a tulpa, but they're saying this to him to fucking drive him mad or to fucking empty him out.
And then it shows a bit of an old Fight Club fucking curveball as well, because when he's down, he's after sneaking into one of the kind of the rituals in the basement of the Pontifex Institute or whatever.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that bit.
He's sort of, he sneaks in and something makes a noise and distracts all their attention, and it's like, oh god. And it turns out that he himself snuck in again, kind of like through another spot in time or something like that. So he's actually standing there watching himself interacting. It's this real sort of headfuck where you're kind of like, was that real, or is he just projecting, or what the fuck, or what was going on there? Like, did he actually manage to manifest in two different places at once? And it's just the nature of time looping and bending over itself and crisscrossing.
The cool thing with it, where it gives like an ending, but you do kind of question the ending at the same point, and you kind of go, it's like, but this happened the whole way through it, and you're kind of like, but if that happened, because there's bits like when he meets with the cops at the start, when the teenage girl goes missing, and the cops are like, oh, I've heard of you. You were like an undercover cop before, and this happened and that happened. And it's like, if he was a tulpa, how did they know? Unless he must have been in on it. So there's bits and pieces, like,
the extent and all the rest.
Because, like, isn't it the thing that the people that were like working in the restaurant, they were cult members as well, that were singing happy birthday to him. They show them in the cult near the end, so you do kind of go, oh wait now. And there's a bit of Angel Heart vibes around it as well, where it's that kind of questioning of who you are, kind of an identity. And
well, but that's it. It is, and it's like, what is reality? Are your experiences reality? Are your internal thoughts reality? Is other people's experience of you the reality of what you are? Do you know, like, what is the sum of your parts, kind of thing? So if you want to go down a deep, dark philosophical hole, you can go right the whole way down there, and you can fucking go mad, basically.
I see, this is the thing. I think with, like, there is a lot of similarities, actually, with Blade Runner. But it's just because I think with Blade Runner, there's a lot of points throughout it where you do kind of go, fuck, is Deckard a robot? Or, you kind of, but like in this, it is literally just last moment where you kind of go, fuck, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh, and then he just goes like into mental cosmic shit for like about a minute, and then the film is over, and you're just like,
and it's just all the hospital staff are just standing there looking at him like he's the new empty man, kind of a thing. And they're obviously all in on it as well, So it's like, again, it's kind of like, this whole thing of, what's the word I'm looking for? I know it's not solipsism. It's basically, it's sort of like, you're obviously the main star of your own story, but other people then are only background. They're only kind of like, they're just sort of background actors in your own, Jesus Christ, I can't fucking express what I'm trying to say here. They're NPCs in your life, but obviously each other person has their own rich internal life. They're their own main character, and you're their NPC. So it's sort of, you start digging down into the, like, what is the meaning of your existence, and is it other people's experience of you? It's other people's projection of you and what they want from you or what they see from you. Is that what you are? Is that the sum of your existence? Like, it as you move throughout the world, kind of a thing, because he's a tulpa, he's a projection of other people's sort of, mind kind of experiments or thought experiments or something like that. So it's just, if you start digging down into it, like I can't even get the words out because I'm trying. Like,
that's why I want to do this podcast, so I know that I'm real, so I can listen back.
So you're like, but
the one listener, me.
Yes, you're listening to yourself. Oh no, I'm experiencing reality through my own eyes. Oh no. But it is, I mean, like, fucking, as I said, it's the kind of film where you can just take it at face value and go, oh, it was a bit spooky. Or if you want to start delving down into it a little bit, you can kind of lead yourself off down, go off and down, look at like Buddhist sort of theory and sort of thought process.
Well, that's the
go
thing.
down and look at, as I said, you go to Derrida because he's mentioned, and it brings you back to like Heidegger and Nietzsche and, you know, going back to everything, like, and it kind of, to be honest with you, it kind of gave me a bit of a shudder because, again, we had 1 or 2 classes in college which were deep philosophy, and it was all that, and it was all like, you know, sort of the existence of being, and, you know, sort of Descartes, all this kind of stuff, and I was just like, a lot of that was like whoosh at that age. I was like, oh yeah, whatever. I tried reading up on it there again now and again. I was just kind of like whoosh. I haven't gotten any smarter since. But it's very, if you actually give the space to your brain to try and sink into it, it is kind of, you suddenly kind of go, oh yeah, that's quite interesting.
Yes, but this is
kind
like,
of expands your sort of your world vision a small bit, you know.
But I think this is what makes it such a good movie, and as well, kind of more of a tragedy that it just
that just went totally under the radar.
That there's a lot to it in a good way. There's a lot to it where you kind of go, look, this is something that like repeat viewings will actually reward.
Yeah.
And I think in another universe, this could have been a film that people are like, oh my god, you know.
Yeah, it could have been a fucking, what's that? Jesus Christ! Oh my god, Nolan's fucking film with
Inception.
Yes, there you go. You know, it could have been as big as something like that because everyone's like, oh my god, that blew my mind. And you know,
well, you see, I think the lack of action in this is kind of make it maybe not a summer blockbuster.
But maybe not, but it is that kind of a film where it's like I said, you can watch it and you kind of go, yeah, that was cool, or there's layers and layers to it, and you kind of go a little bit deeper down. Now, as I said, I'm sure there's thousands of things in it that we missed as well. And having seen the end and knowing what it is, if you go back and do a second view, and you're probably like, oh my fucking god.
And I'm looking forward to actually looking at it a second time, just to see kind of what from his point of view when you kind of go, all right, he's not.
It is like watching Fight Club again the second time, and you go, oh my god, of course,
because like all the people that he's interacting with. But then there was the lead detective on the case, who he's like nearly working with, but lead detective is like, you're not a cop anymore, stay out of it. He's not a cult member.
Or is he?
Yeah, but I think they would have shown, you know, there's too many.
But it could be just like, I mean, he was. They started off with the premise that he is an undercover cop, so he lives lives. He lives other people's lives. He is an empty vessel. He's not his own person anymore. So this guy could have just, heard of him being like, you know, undercover cop, and assumed he was.
There is the whole possibility as well that they could be just fucking with him. At the end, your woman could be absolutely fucking with him, and he's after buying into this whole cult kind of thing, and that it's real, and they're kind of fucking with his brain so much that he's like, I don't exist. You know, or it's open.
It's a bit of a mind bender, all right. What is reality anyway? Yeah. And it is like kind of, it might not have been the intention of the film, I don't know, but it did kind of start me off with this whole, you know, this collective unconsciousness kind of a thing, where you have this, like, if one person has the knowledge, then like somebody on the other side of the world will simultaneously come to that exact same knowledge, or you can kind of speak through, I don't know, your genes can speak to your next generation kind of a thing as well, and this knowledge kind of gets passed down, and, you know, is that just coming from ourselves, or is it coming from some other cosmic force, you know? Where is it all coming from?
God, imagine if you had like a nervous breakdown.
I know, just after watching this. Just start to pull myself to
like the empty man. It's this fucking film that got dumped on Hulu or Disney Plus.
Totally unravelled herself.
It's like, what's the IMDb rating on it? Around 6 or something like that. It should be higher.
But as you can probably tell, I did really enjoy it. I kind of went into it not really expecting much, because again, the recommendation was mainly based on, you kind of, as I said, it was like ChatGPT recommended it to me, and I was like, give me a film that has some sort of remote desert-like sort of ambience to it, and I kind of went, well, Well, this film has a bit at the start, but it does change, but it's kind of what you're looking for. And I was like, oh, sure, go on, let me have a look at it. And it mentioned kind of like Lovecraftian, and I went, oh, so much there we go. Let's have
Well, I have to say, when you did say it at first...
Yeah, you were just like, no, I'm not watching that shit.
I was like, no, because it was just me. I thought it was a different movie, you know, and it's because of the fucking the cover for it.
Very mild bit of marketing it got.
Yeah,
it just wasn't.
But it's the cover. The cover just looks like there's a couple of other films that are around that I'm fairly sure are probably on Disney Plus as well. Or
see, remember that whole thing on the Slender Man and all.
Yes,
that whole
it's the same cover as Slender Man, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all that, and you're kind of going, oh, this is some really fucking cheap ass fucking teen horror kind of a thing.
Now, one thing I will say as well for it, like the IMDb, I think can be quite spot on with some things. They have for the recommendations on it are more like this: The Night House, which would have been the movie directed by the guy that did the reboot of Hellraiser, which is really good. It could be a Hellraiser movie, I think, with a few tweaks to itself. The Dark and the Wicked, which we're going to cover at some stage on this, which I think is like, it's been brutally overlooked, and I think it's probably one of the most brutal, depressing folk horror movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
There is like, there is no one gets saved, and it's like you are fucking on your own. There's no way out of this. There's no like exorcist coming along. Oh, and the void and the endless and the ritual.
Yeah. And the colour
as well, which
it's all that kind of it's right along that kind of thing.
Yeah, it fits, and the oddity as well. I think it like Malignant. I like Malignant, but Jesus Christ, it's absolutely nothing like Malignant. But it deserves a place amongst all those. I think good cult fucking cosmic horror movies from the 2020s.
Yeah, a very specific little niche genre.
Yeah. Like I do hope. I do think that it because we've seen it happen. Even The Evil Dead wasn't that popular. Like people fucking forget.
That's what I mean. In 20 years' time, it could be the likes of an Evil, where they're like the people now. Well, I suppose more in the 90s, 2000s, Evil Dead was like super big. It just made a resurgence. I don't know what's because
I think it was probably the 2000s. Was like well before they did the thing. There was, because like everyone speaks very fondly about Army of Darkness. Well, fucking when Army of Darkness came out, that fucking movie got shit on from a hype because it wasn't Evil Dead 2. Yeah. 0.5. It was like people were like, fucking this is not. But even Evil Dead 2. People were like, oh, it's not as scary as first one, it's too cartoony and stuff. Like, there was, but they were not big movies. Like,
no,
people
but that's what
forget
I mean. They are very, very cult nowadays. So, as I said, give it 20 years and this film could be being talked about by film students
it
again.
It could be, yeah. It just takes kind of like, say, a couple of bigger kind of people on YouTube or whatever to kind of start talking about it, and people to go off and read.
Maybe this will be the tipping point, Wayne. Maybe you talking about it now and people go, well.
Oh, yeah, just don't want to be like, oh, maybe he is the empty man. But it's just like, it's well because it's on like Disney Plus. It's got a really good platform to be discovered by people. I think it's in a good position to get, like, there's a lot of, like what we were saying, I could do at some stage, Coffee Town as well. Like, I think that's one of the best comedy movies fucking, and I don't think that's ever really going to, because it was part of the was that fucking college fucking
College
Humor thing, and like I think that's pretty much dead. So I don't think anyone really has the rights are just kind of sinking out there. So, or the distribution rights for it. So it's an, I don't know. I haven't seen it anywhere in a long time. So I think that limits the chance of people discovering it when you can't fucking get it. But yeah. So look,
go look at the empty.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't blow into any bottles you find on any empty bridges, just for hygiene purposes.
Yeah, that's one of the things where you're kind of looking at it, you're kind of like, well, you deserve to get destroyed by some fucking cosmic entity if you're going to be blowing into
picking up dirty bottles.
Yeah, like, people are probably pissed in or had shoved up their arse or something like that, and a fucking some hobo under a bridge, like. But like, like we were saying, obviously, fucking, it's a great movie. It's really, and as well, like the cinematography too. It's directed really, really well, and your man who directed it. Like we were saying, he was a David Pryor. He hasn't done a lot of directed a lot of movies, but like, I mean, probably because this tanked, they were probably like, oh well, you had your shot and you missed. But he's fucking a great director. Like, it really, really, really good. It
was really good.
But yeah, look,
go watch it.
Yeah, come back next week. We're going to be talking about Archive 81. And
kind of a similar
it
vein,
shares
supernaturally
it's with it, yeah.
kind of a.
And one of the guys that
real.
plays Samuel in Archive 81 is also in this.
Oh.
Yes.
Is he?
Yeah. I can't remember
I'll
his
take
name.
her word for it, so that's good. But yes,
Yeah,
go
Evan.
watch.
Evan. Yeah,
Yes.
he plays Greg in it. But yeah, look, thanks for listening, and until next week.
Don't go blowing in bottles.
Yes, goodbye.